Good afternoon. This webinar will start shortly. All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get going here. A recording of today's webinar will be available in the next week or so on our YouTube page, so definitely feel free to check it out there as well. With that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. So good afternoon and welcome to CFP Board's Your Accelerated Path to CFP Certification webinar. My name is Amanda Zapata and I'm a Senior Marketing Manager here at CFP Board. Today we'll discuss the accelerated path. This includes review of accelerated path requirements, capstone and capstone alternative options, how adding CFP certification to your existing credentials can advance your career, and leave time at the end for Q&A. If you do have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to post them in the Q&A box. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is my colleague Douglas Jones will also be joining us on this webinar, and you'll hear him speak throughout, but he'll also be available to answer questions as well. So let's start off with a quick overview of what the accelerated path to CFP certification is. The accelerated path allows you to sit for the CFP exam sooner, expediting your path to CFP certification. That's because you can skip the majority of the coursework required to sit for the exam. This is based on your knowledge gained from other advanced degrees or professional certifications. So again, the accelerated path is a much speedier process to get to the exam. Again, you can skip majority of the coursework required to sit for the exam. So if you qualify, you would only need to take one course, the capstone course, to sit for the exam. We'll review more about the capstone shortly to go over exactly what that course entails. You'll still need to submit your bachelor's degree, experience, and complete your background check as part of certification. So all of that still stays the same, but the coursework to sit for the exam, that's where the requirement differs. These are the credentials that qualify for the accelerated path: CPA, CFA, CHFC, CLU, licensed attorney, PhD in financial planning, business administration or economics, or an international CFP certification. The submission requirements for the accelerated path are fairly simple. The first step is you'll submit your credential documentation. So you'll submit your proof of credential to education@cfpboard.org. You'll need to submit proof of your credential, and documentation does differ slightly for each credential. Typically includes a copy of your license or a copy of your certificate of completion or a verification letter or an official transcript, but fairly simple document for you to be able to obtain and send that over to our education team. The second step is to complete a capstone course. So you'll submit your transcript or grade report once you complete that, and we'll talk more about the actual meat of the capstone course next. But once the course is completed, you'll need to self-report your course completion directly to our education team. And that's, again, submitting a transcript or grade report. And then you'll pass the exam. So once you do all of that and your education is verified, you'll be able to register for the CFP exam. And so then you'll complete the exam. Each exam has its own education verification deadline, so make sure you know what that is as you complete your capstone course and start your preparation process. The November exam education verification deadline is October 17th. So again, what that means is you'll need to make sure that your proof of credential and proof of capstone completion are on file within your CFP Board account by October 17th. And you can register for the exam prior to that being verified. You'll just want to make sure that your coursework is done by that time. So the capstone course. So the accelerated path requires completing a comprehensive financial plan development course through a CFP Board registered program. This is one course and about 45 hours of work. The course enhances your practical skills in delivering professional financial planning services and includes a final project of developing and presenting a comprehensive financial plan. You can find an approved capstone course by going to cfp.net/accelerated path-capstone. So again, you do have to take the course through one of our approved registered program providers, but you would just be taking that one course, the capstone course. There is a capstone alternative. If you have already met the experience requirement for CFP certification, the capstone alternative option is available to you. You still need to complete the same capstone course, it's the same information, but there are no required contact hours. So those 45 hours worth of work, you have access to the material, but you're not required to do every single hour. You have the ability to move directly to the final project of developing and presenting a financial plan. In order to qualify for the capstone alternative, you'll need to submit and fully complete your experience hours in your CFP Board account, submit an eligibility request form, which includes your credential documentation, then get approval before enrolling with one of our 2 providers for the capstone alternative. You can find more information about the capstone alternative if you go to cfp.net/capalt. So again, it's still taking a course, but a little bit faster way to move through that capstone course. And now I'll pass it over to Douglas to talk about some of the value that we've seen from adding CFP certification.
Hi, everyone. So CFP certification is a standard of excellence in personal financial planning. Holding CFP certification signifies that you are trained and experienced in comprehensive financial planning and are prepared to help clients chart a course for a secure future. Adding CFP certification to your professional credentials gives you a competitive edge by allowing you to expand your client services with a holistic financial planning offering. Complementing your other credentials with the CFP mark can also grow your business prospects while enhancing your career opportunities. So for instance, if you're a CPA, you have a lot of specialization on knowledge in tax planning, but if you were to complement your CPA license with the CFP mark, you could add in knowledge about risk management and insurance planning or estate planning or investment planning that can help you bolster your business and give you a wider range of knowledge and skills you can use to keep your clients in-house without outsourcing them to other businesses or firms. 93% of CFP professionals are satisfied with their career choice and recommend that other financial advisors earn the certification. They believe that CFP certification gives them a competitive edge over other advisors. And 96% of consumers who work with a CFP professional are satisfied with their experience. And those who work with a CFP professional report feeling confident, optimistic, and at ease and secure. Earning CFP certification gives you the competence and credibility you need to expand your client relationships. And you can see from the quote at the bottom, it's a testimonial from one of our CFP professionals who's also a CPA. He says that with CFP certification, I'm my biggest referral source, and I'm not relying on anyone else. So as I said before, if you complement your current credentials with CFP certification, instead of having to outsource to anyone else, you can keep your clients in-house and retain more business. And next, we'll go over some quick testimonials provided by other current CFP professionals who discuss the value of adding CFP certification to their existing credentials. I have had numerous clients specifically contact me because I have both the CFP certification and a CPA license. Having this combination gives me credibility and instills trust in my clients. This is from Kristen Callie, who's also a CPA that has the CFP certification. I recently just traveled to the AICPA Engage conference in Las Vegas, where I had the opportunity to interact with other CPAs, and a handful of them that were there that also had the CFP certification spoke to the benefit of having these two credentials in tandem, saying that it's a great differentiator from them, between them and other CPAs that don't have the CFP certification. And someone who is just recently certified as a certified financial planner said that since he's combined those two in the last couple of months, he's been inundated with phone calls from clients looking just for him because of his combined credentials. Then I'd recommend CFP certification, especially to people in estate planning or wills and trusts. I don't think you can do your job as an estate planning attorney without knowledge of the broader process. And that's from Christopher Berry, who is an attorney with the CFP certification. And the combination of the CHFC and the CFP certification has really been powerful for me. I use things I learned throughout the process on a daily basis. And that comes from Desiree Call, who has her CFP certification and her CHFC designation. So there's really, whether you're have your JD or your CPA license, or you have the CHFC designation or any other of the qualifying designations, adding CFP certification really is a benefit to both your skills and your business. And you can find more information on the accelerated path by visiting cfp.net/accelerated path. We're going to see an overview of the submission requirements discussed today, a list of qualifying credentials. There's a requirements checklist, and other resources.
And so now we will take some questions. I know that there are some questions that have come in that I see in our Q&A right now. And a couple of those, which are very similar, are about the enrolled agent and asking if being an enrolled agent qualifies for the accelerated path to CFP certification. It does not qualify as one of the approved credentials for the accelerated path to certification. So you would need to take the full required coursework to sit for the exam. But I do want to mention that there is a transcript review option. So it's not an accelerated path to certification, but being an enrolled agent is one of the transcript review credentials, and it gives you credit towards one of the principal domain topics. So it may waive you out of a course that you would have to take in the full set of coursework. I'll put the link in, answer the questions, and I'll put the link here back in the Q&A for those who asked. But there is an application fee, but you can review the application, see if it makes sense for you. And again, it may waive you out of one of the courses that's required in all of the coursework material. But you'd have to submit that to our education team, and they would review that with you and let you know what courses you'd still need to take. And the capstone by default is always required. And there's another question here about, can I take the CFP exam and then do the coursework afterwards? The answer to that is no. The coursework has to be completed and verified in your account before you sit for the exam. So again, you can register for the exam before your coursework is verified, but your coursework has to be verified by that exam's education verification deadline in order for you to actually sit.
I see there's a question about the experience requirement. It says, can you elaborate on the experience requirement when you already have another credential like a CPA seeking to bypass a capstone course? So the experiment requirement is outside of the education requirement. So regardless of if you went through the accelerated path or the standard pathway, you would still need to complete 6,000 hours of professional experience in order to continue with the certification process. Amanda, do you know any examples that would qualify for the experience? I know work like client-facing work qualifies for it, but I don't know any like concrete examples of what would go for the experience requirement.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing for experience is, one, you can enter it in your account at any time. So if you have not already created your CFP board account, please do so. You can go in and start entering your experience now to see if it qualifies. But two, what I can tell you, what doesn't qualify is corporate financial experience. So if you are doing financial planning on behalf of a business, that does not count for experience. It has to relate back to individual client. And so you'll see that when you start to enter your experience, we ask how you interact with the individual client, whether that's through personal delivery or you're supporting an advisor who does that, or supervising a team of advisors who do that, or some a little bit more indirectly, but whatever you're doing has the relation back to the individual client. So that's the biggest thing to keep in mind. So there's a lot of different paths, a lot of different roles that can be considered. My biggest piece of advice is to go in and start entering that in your account today. There's absolutely no harm. And if for some reason it isn't accepted, nothing happens. It just shows as not qualified.
Then does the HS 333 course with the American College meet the capstone requirement? It does. Especially so if you received your CHFC designation through the American College and you have completed that course, then you're eligible to register for the exam immediately, which means you don't have to take capstone because that qualifies as your capstone.
There's another question here. Does the American College or College for Financial Planning offer a review course in addition to the capstone course or capstone alternative course? And if you're talking about an exam review course, I know that Kaplan or the College for Financial Planning does. And I believe American College's review courses through Dalton. I don't know that they offer one themselves, but there are a lot of review courses out there. If you go to cfp.net/review courses, then you can find a listing of review courses. It's not a comprehensive listing, but listing that we know of. And then I'd also go into the candidate forum, the candidate community, and you can look to see what a lot of other candidates recommend taking. There's a question here. What is the address of the education team? You can email any questions or credential documentation to education@cfpboard.org.
Or what kind of experience do you need to take the accelerated capstone?
The capstone alternative.
Okay, capstone course and how to record it. The experience requirement to complete the capstone alternative course is the same as it is for getting certified. The only step is in order to qualify for an alternative, you have to have your experience requirements accepted and met before you submit the application to get accepted to the alternative course. So it's making sure you can have your experience hours accepted and submitted and accepted. And then there's a form on the website you can complete. And then once our education team verifies it and accepts it, then you can present their email or their acceptance email to whatever capstone course you want to go with. And you can take the alternative, but I think it's only with the American College and
the College for Financial Planning.
Yeah, those are the only two that actually offer the capstone alternative.
Yeah, so just to reiterate what I had said earlier, and to add on to what Douglas was saying, is that you can go in to enter your experience now. It's the same experience requirement that every candidate who is earning CFP certification is required to complete. So nothing changes in terms of the experience requirement. The only thing is that if you want to try to qualify for the faster capstone course, then you have to submit your experience in order to qualify. So it's just a timing thing, but the actual requirement is exactly the same. And again, if you log into your online account, you'll see your dashboard, and you just click on record experience. It'll bring you right into the experience report experience. It'll bring you right into the experience reporting profile, and there'll be a button that says add experience, and it should be pretty self-explanatory. But if you need any help entering your experience, you can always feel free to reach out to our experience team at experience@cfpboard.org. There's another question more related to sitting for the exam, but it might be helpful for anybody listening in. Just, what's the best material to prepare? Are there any prep courses that we recommend? I don't have any recommendations. We have a listing of review courses that are available. And then, of course, you can go on to our online community, and there are a lot of conversations from your fellow peers about what review courses they used and why they recommend them, or maybe why they don't, and other resources that they use. There's actually a really good thread going on right now about how people prepared for the CFP exam. And I think that there's a lot of helpful information there. But then also on our website, if you go to cfp.net/exam resources, there's a whole listing of exam resources. So it'll provide a link to the exam review course website. It'll provide a link to the CFP board practice exam, the sample, there's a free 10-question sample exam, and other just testing resources. So that might be helpful as well.
How long do I have before my approval of the alternative capstone course expires? I don't, correct me if I'm wrong a minute, but I don't think it expires. I think once you get the approval, you have the approval.
Let's double check on that for you. We'll connect with our education team and get back to you on that one. And you can always feel free to email education@cfpboard.org as well, but we will definitely double check on that for you. There's another question about a specific experience type, about, client-facing audit experience, and, serving tax clients. I can't say for sure this does count or this won't count. My biggest piece of advice is to go into your online account and get that entered. Again, there is absolutely no harm in entering your experience. If for some reason we say this doesn't qualify, that does not harm your path to CFP certification. It just won't count the hours towards what you have required. So I would highly recommend logging into your CFP board account and starting to enter your experience, because that's going to give us the best opportunity to review what you've submitted, review the actual history of your experience. And then our experience team, if they do have any questions, will reach out to you for more specifics. But highly recommend getting that answered or entered in your online account.
And
there is go ahead, Douglas.
Oh, sorry. So if another question here is saying, if I completed the capstone course 2 years ago, do I need to redo the course to take the exam in the future? I think it's, I think once you complete the capstone course, you complete the capstone course.
Yep. Yeah. So basically, if your education is verified in your account and you see that says verified in your account, you're good to go. You don't have to retake your coursework. You don't need to resubmit your credentials. You're just good to register for the exam whenever you're ready. Even if for some reason you haven't submitted your capstone completion, but you did complete it already, you can go ahead and submit that to our education team, and you shouldn't have to retake the course. And then a question about the capstone alternative. If you qualify for the alternative capstone because you do have the experience, do you still have to complete the financial plan project? You just don't have to complete the required contact hours. And that is correct. So basically, you still have to complete that final plan, that final project. You can just move directly to the creation of that. You'll have access to the other knowledge and material that the original capstone course would include. You just don't have to go through it. And so you can move directly to the creation of the financial plan, and you don't necessarily have that 45-hour requirement. And there's a couple questions about certifications in corporate finance from Canada, and does that count towards CFP certification? No, the only thing that could help you towards CFP certification in that case would be having your international CFP certification. But if you don't do that and you're trying to earn the US national CFP certification, then you would just have to go through all of the standard US CFP certification requirements. And then same thing for an international degree. If you have an international degree and you're trying to submit that for the degree portion of the CFP certification requirements, Just make sure you have that evaluated through a NACIS member. And if you have that official evaluation completed, then you'll want to have the official evaluation sent to transcripts@cfpboard.org. There's a question about if you have a Series 6 or 63 license, that does not qualify for any education waiver. You would just have to go through the full CFP Board registered program coursework in order to sit for the exam. And then a question about, do we have any guidelines on the financial plan to be presented in the capstone course? I don't have any guidelines. I can check with our education team if they have any guidelines, but I think what's going to happen is you're going to need to go to the actual provider and ask them this question, because you'll want to do your own research too before you actually sign up with a capstone provider. Make sure you understand the cost, the timing, make sure you understand all of that, and then they can provide you a little bit more information on, their requirements and curriculum. It should all be similar, but each provider is a little bit different. And one last question about CPA experience. If I work in a CPA firm, is that okay for experience? Again, for any experience question, it's possible. I would just highly recommend entering that in your CFP Board account today, so that way we can give you the best answer there. And you should know pretty immediately.
And then one thing I wanted to go back to the expiration question about the capstone alternative. So upon approval from our education team, you will receive a certificate of eligibility. And on that, there is a window to enroll. So I think it's a 6-month window. If you don't enroll by the expiration date on that certificate of eligibility, you will have to contact the education team again and reapply for a new approval.
Great. We'll give everybody a few more seconds to ask any other questions. But if there aren't, that's great. Again, there will be this presentation, this webinar will be posted on our YouTube page within the next week or so. And we'll also email out the copy to everybody who registered. And so feel free to pass it along to anybody that you know as well that might benefit from this. But if you do have any questions, or if there is anything that we missed, please feel free to contact us at getcertified2024@cfpboard.org, or you can always reach out to our education team, education@cfpboard.org.
The other question is, experience optional or requirement to become a CFP? It is required.
Yep. Yeah, so there are 4 E's to CFP certification: education, which consists of completing the coursework to sit for the exam, and the degree requirement. So the degree is a bachelor's degree or higher is required for CFP certification. That can be submitted after passing the exam. The exam, experience, and ethics consists of passing a background check. So you would just submit the application. You can do that once you register for an account with CFP Board, or when you're registering for the exam, but you can submit your application at any time, and then we'll process the background check for you closer to when you're taking the exam. And then it looks like there's another question that just came in. When you become eligible to sit for the exam, how long is the eligibility good for? So if we're talking about you have your coursework verified in your account, we've said, yes, your credential and your capstone course completion are good to go, and you see in your dashboard that the education coursework requirement says verified, and which we'd see also on our end, that has no expiration date. So you can then sit for the exam whenever you're ready. And then another question here that came in that's actually a really good question here is, my education is still pending verification and I submitted what I thought were the correct documents, a while ago. How long does this take to be verified? It shouldn't take long at all. So that signals to me that maybe we need something else, or there's crossed wires somewhere. But what I would highly recommend doing is emailing education@cfpboard.org and just asking them to look into that. But if you also want to send an email to get certified 2024 at cfpboard.org, myself or Douglas would be happy to look into that for you. Oh, and then the thread on where to find best resources for CFP exam prep. For anybody looking on our candidate forum, that is, if you go to candidateforum.cfp.net, and just go to our open forum, which is just like our open community, there's a thread called How You Prepared for the CFP Exam. And that has a lot of different responses from candidates on how they prepared for the exam. And if you want to email the email address that you see on your screen right now, more than happy to send you the direct link. Oh, great. Another question here about experience. Experience shows as provisionally accepted. What does that mean? That means that your experience is good to go. It's just pending you completing the exam requirement. So there's nothing else that we need from you right now, other than just focusing on preparing for the exam. And then once you've passed the exam, that will go from provisionally accepted to accepted, and you'll see the experience requirement marked as verified. All right, doesn't look like we have any other questions coming in. Again, if there is anything else, please feel free to reach out to the email address that you see on your screen, get certified 2024 at cfpboard.org. And we are more than happy to assist you. You can also always feel free to reach out to our education team, education@cfpboard.org, for any additional accelerated path or capstone or verification type questions. I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and we will speak with you soon.